This episode of the Golf Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Best Ball Mania is live with a $15 million in prizes. Sign up today with Golf SGPN to claim your special first pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code Golf SGPN. And also brought to you by Royal Retros. Royal Retros has jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, and sweatshirts from old school teams that you love. Use promo code SGPN for 10% off your first order today. That's SGPN at royalretros.com. What's up, T-Gens? It's your boy, Boston Capper. Might be hearing my dog's back in the background. My Bruins just got completely jobbed by Batman in the NHL. I am in a miserable fucking mood. Steve, I love you, buddy. I've already apologized a million times about how tonight's show is going to be. See if you can do it. You're on mute.
We are off to an awesome start.
Great goddamn stat.
You got the dogs barking.
I want to murder everyone. You don't know what button to hit. I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to Game 5 on Tuesday. So I'm missing a pod I would rather talk about now. And I'm going to end up jumping the fucking boards and trying to murder an NHL ref because of how awful they are. Like, everyone needs to check their bank accounts because those NHL refs are 100% on the fucking tank from Toronto. Cunts. Fucking cunts.
Well, it's not even going to be the same ref, buddy. I mean, you're going to take out a poor soul.
This is it's just like baseball, dude. It's just like baseball. They're the same refs.
Oh, so it's a cabal? Okay. All right.
No, okay. Well, it's like baseball, right? So, like, you have a home umpire, then they go to first over the series. It's always the same crew on the series.
Oh, the same crew does listen, I don't follow much hockey, so your despair is kind of foreign to me right now because we don't have a hockey team. Well, we do.
My
have
despair, I can't even describe how upset I am
right now. I can see it all over your face, man. I mean, you called somebody the C word already, and it was only about a minute into the show, and we haven't even talked about Rory and Xander.
I have to delete my Twitter feed.
You also think you're C.
I have to delete my Twitter feed. If we ever need to go anywhere else, I have to delete my Twitter feed because the C word was rampant tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry for your loss tonight.
Fucking trash.
All right. Well, before we get to...
I legitimately hope they die. I hope they all die in a fiery car wreck on the way home. That's what I hope.
All right. Well, do you have any? I'm assuming you probably don't have a lot of thoughts about Quail Hollow today in the Rory Xander duel that went down, or
just typical Xander. Oh my God. What a limp dick F word. Like, unbelievable. Like, just shot even. With how many would he have? One stroke lead going into today, but he let it tee to green. Oh, not tee to green, but fucking listen. I know Rory played really, really well today, but shooting even is such a Xander thing to do on Sunday. Like, it really is. He shot even.
I mean,
didn't go out and grab it. Didn't even put up a fight. He eagled that one hole on the front nine, and other than that, he didn't do shit.
Well, that's where you can fault Xander. Like, that is the typical Xander Sunday is he made really stupid, silly mistakes when it was real crunch time. And he failed to put pressure on Rory other than that eagle. But like you just said, like, Rory gained 8.5 strokes on the field today. Like, there's nothing Xander.
But I don't want to excuse Xander on that. I don't want to excuse him because he could have gained. He's a good enough player where he could fucking gain 6 strokes and put pressure on him, but he doesn't. He just fucking wilts and does his Xander shit on Sunday, and that's why he's a fucking loser, and he'll always be a loser.
Well, that's why I only bet him top 10. I said
that's right.
I'm done betting the outrights with Xander until further notice. And listen, it was even parts. Rory just took the damn tournament today. I mean, listen, mea culpa. I mean, even though Rory got to 19 under, it played really difficult over the weekend. I think what I ended up
Did he finish at 19? He doubled the last one.
Oh, did he double the last hole? All right. I turned it off because it was over at that point, and it's Mother's Day, and I had to go do some Mother's Day obligations at that point. But Yeah, listen, I probably should have accounted for the fact that they have all new greens. They're going to play really firm, those 12 greens. Maybe we'll see what happens next year. But yeah, it's a combination of Rory just ended up taking the tournament and Xander just does his typical things on Sunday where he just kind of flatlines. The same thing happened at Riviera where the tournament was right there for the taking. Even though Hideki took the tournament, Xander didn't put up much of a fight. And it's just typical kind of what we see from him. And, the two separate on a very difficult golf course. Otherwise, I'm looking, down the rest of the leaderboard there. I mean, Homa played okay, but he kind of was in neutral for most of the weekend. Fleetwood played all right. A lot of guys really disappointed me, especially on my betting card. I had 6 of 8 positionals in the money heading into Sunday. Thank you, Cam Davis, for going, I think, 5 over through 4 holes on the back 9. Thank you, Taylor Moore, for submarining 2.
7-1. 7-1, Cam Davis, you piece of shit.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. So I ended up losing a little bit.
He's not one of my favorite Aussies.
No, he isn't. Well, we're going to add one of your favorite Aussies to the PGA field this week. So, because we're going to get the live guys back. All your favorite golfers that play on that tour are coming over, joining the crowd, joining the crowd again. All right. We have a lot to cover tonight with Valhalla. Okay. So I don't think there's really anything else to talk about with Quail. Congratulations to Rory. Maybe one last thing? Actually, 2 last things. Sure. Cam mentioned in our text chain today that allegedly with golf Twitter community, Xander's going to be contrarian now because it's the perfect spot for him. Do you have any response to that after what happened today?
I can't, only because I've only been in Bruins Twitter. I legitimately give no fucks about Xander or golf Twitter. I was very upset about.
Okay. All right. Show me a week where Xander is not shocked. That is my response to that. And number 2, we are now at yet another week where Rory has won the week before the major and everybody is now hot for trot for him. I'm going to put you on record right now. Is Rory going to win in Valhalla next week?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You can double check. 300% no.
Okay. Well, you're not on the betting show, so I just wanted your official take on the record.
Listen, I'll send you my bet. Here's the deal. Depending on what time you go, I don't know what time puck drop is on Tuesday. I might be able to just jump in real quick and just scream a bunch of pigs angrily as I'm getting taken away by the Sunrise Police.
All right. I don't know if I'm going to allow that, but all right. But you can. I can be your first phone call when you get hauled away.
Oh yeah.
So. All right.
My wife. She's already mad I'm going. So.
All right. Why don't we take our first break? Before we do this, so tonight on the show, we're going to go hole by hole of Valhalla, and a lot of what I'm going to talk about hole by hole is really your betting preview as far as what attributes you got to look for, what type of shots they're going to hit. I'm going to show you what Rory and Ricky did in 2014, where they're hitting their approach shots. There's been some changes to the golf course since 2014, only a little bit though. It's been most of the changes though is a lot of fluff that is kind of humorous. It's kind of shticky, and we're probably going to put Valhalla in their place tonight with some of the things they have done.
I love
it.
I love Smarmy Steve. That'll cheer me up a little bit.
It's going to be super swarmy tonight. And then we are, I'll talk briefly about just some attributes of what we're going to look for. I'll have my preview tomorrow with a little more detail about the stuff. But then after that, we will really cheer you up with the elimination game to whittle down the field of who's going to win the PGA. So why don't we take our first break and then we will start talking about Valhalla.
All right, let's go. Listen, if you're a hardcore baseball fan or just a degenerate looking to get a little action in your office on a Thursday afternoon, either way, you'll want to make sure you subscribe to the MLB podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Bamford, Moonoff. I just mentioned Bamford. I was like, I don't hate all English people. I just hate most English people, and he wasn't included. So go check those boys out. Plus, Underdog Fantasy NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing the pick'em game is as simple as selecting a higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your favorite sports. You can win 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. So Underdog available in 30 plus states, including Cali, Texas, and Canada. So listen, you can when you sign up, you're a new customer, you get a pick 'em special in the lobby, which is like basically a free square. So Underdog will also be running a ton of different promos, bonus cash, airdrops, specials, giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow at Underdog Picks on Twitter and keep an eye out. Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including Cali, Texas, and Canada. And they just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. So sign up with Golf SGPN and claim your first special pick plus your first time deposit today. I'll offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com with promo code Golf SGPN.
Okay. Let's go on a little trip. The Valhalla. This is the Valhalla Golf Club in Louisville. It opened in 1986. This is a Jack Nicklaus design. Shortly after that, the PGA of America ended up purchasing the golf course. And this is where they were headquartered for a while until they moved recently down to Frisco. There has been 4 major tournaments held at Valhalla. I am going to quiz Boston Capper just about each one, just to see if he can really remember. I know you hate getting quizzed, but hey, these are major championships. You probably should, as a golf expert, I kind of know a little bit about it. So, all right, the 1996 PGA Championship was the first major championship held at Valhalla. Who won the 96 PGA? Boston Capper.
You're younger than I am. There's zero chance you actually watched this. I was in 8th grade in 1996. I have no fucking clue.
Okay. Well, for my generation, golf did not exist pre-1997.
Your generation. You're the generation before me.
Bro, I was talking about us in general. Golf did not exist pre-1997 Masters for anybody. But a guy named Mark Brooks, who ended up losing to Retief Goosen at the 2001 U.S. Open Southern Hills, he won this PGA in a playoff over continual tragic character Kenny Perry, who has lost in heartbreaking fashion over. He's also a Louisville or Kentucky native as well, so this is particularly bitter. Apparently, there was controversy. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the 96 PGA, that Kenny Perry shot a really good round. And CBS ended up inviting Kenny Perry up to the booth because they thought he was going to win. So
it would be like Cam being like, oh, wrap it up. He's got it wrapped up. Do you want me to send a text to the person who should win and then the person does not win because Cam texted them?
Okay. All right. Well, that was the 96 PGA. Then in 2000, we had another PGA Championship. Who won the 2000 PGA Championship?
What?
Come on. Who won everything in 2000?
The Tiger.
Okay, Tiger. Tiger won over Bob May in a playoff. It was the one of the most iconic moments where he ended up running and pointing to the hole on the 13th. We will talk about the 13th hole in a little bit. Then the 2008 Ryder Cup came to Valhalla.
That's right.
Seems like you remember that one because your favorite boys ended up putting a hurting on Europe that week, 16.5 and 11.5. That was the genesis of the pod system, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, with A Zinger. He was the captain here, and this was after.
So he was a good captain versus Zach Johnson, who was possibly the worst captain of all time.
Well, actually, the worst captain was probably Hal Sutton in 2004, who decided to pair Tiger and Phil together in the same group.
I don't care.
Okay.
He chose Justin Thomas and the corpse of Ricky Fowler over people who could actually hit the fucking golf ball because he wanted to molest younger men. That is what Zach Johnson.
That's allegedly.
Allegedly. I'll say allegedly. Allegedly, Zach Johnson likes to stick younger cock in his mouth, and that's why he really wanted those guys to go. If you watch the Netflix thing, there is nothing more that he wanted JT's cock in his mouth.
All right, Cam, we might have to cut a couple of this stuff. Okay. I hope you got the time. That's 14 minutes. Yeah, we might have to cut that. Anyways.
JT's cutting that. That's the good stuff.
Anyways, this was Anthony Kim's big moment. This is where I think he was running down the 18th fairway, the American flag over his.
Yes.
And then things took a tragic turn for Anthony Kim. But then 2014, hosted the PGA. Who won the 2014 PGA at Valhalla that everybody's going to be talking about because of what he just did to Quill Hollow? Rory won. Almost blew it. And we'll talk about the turning point in his round when we go through the hole by hole. So there's been a lot of major championships that have been hosted at Valhalla. I think this is probably going to be the last one, though. The PGA of America no longer owns Well, no longer owns Valhalla, so they had agreed to come back here when they still owned the place. But in 2022, I think some Louisville company, ISCO Industries, their CEO named Jimmy Kirchdorfer, he purchased the club from the PGA of America and decided that Valhalla was simply not Kentucky enough. It did not embody the spirit of that proud state. And he decided to pretty much rebrand and completely make over the golf course into a more Southern proper golf club to celebrate hashtag Kentucky culture, which if you thought the Babigo commercial was going to get shoved down your throat constantly a couple weeks ago, get ready for all that is good about Kentucky getting shoved down their throat this week. And they made a bunch of changes to Valhalla, starting first with the clubhouse. Did not look Southern enough in their view. So they added they had some white picket fencing. They added some spires to the clubhouse to make it look like Churchill Downs. There's a lot of horse racing themes in this golf course now that we'll talk about in a little bit. They also added a goddamn horse farm to the golf course as well. That's right next to Bluegrass Way. And they really want you to know this week how much they love their limestone and how important limestone is to Kentucky culture. And quote unquote from Jimmy, we are pretty much the heart of limestone, Kentucky. That is the reason.
No, Jeff, I am not fucking calm yet. You should have checked it earlier. I'm still literally having a mental breakdown because of this. This is unbelievable. Like, great. Guys just checking in to see if I'm fucking like murdering puppies at this point.
Hi, Jeff. How you doing? I'm glad you can learn about Kentucky culture tonight. Anyways, so what they said
By
about
the way, I love Jeff. Yes. And he texted me because we have eviscerated his nemesis, the Toronto Maple Leafs, because those people are fucking more insufferable than anybody else. And listen, that's coming from a Boston fan. I know I'm an asshole, but God damn it. The Florida fucking Panthers. I'm going to go to Sunrise, Florida. This is the Everglades. I'm going down to the Everglades, and I'm down 3-1. I'm going to have to try not to get arrested with these mouth-breathing, fucking jort-wearing, fucking Trump MAGA motherfuckers. Like, this is going to be very difficult for me, Steve. It's going to be very difficult.
I can't. I'm
bringing one of my best friends. I have two best friends. I have Tommy, other than you, Steve. Tommy and Pete. Pete is 6'4", 350 degrees. Oh, 350 pounds.
Degrees.
Monster of a man who, helps me out when I run my goddamn mouth.
Okay. All right. Well, anyways, they love their lime, so I'm not going to finish the quote, but it was pretty ridiculous. So, also as a part of the purchase, they actually pissed off a lot of members at Valhalla. So there was a giant liability on the books when they bought this. And that was because when the original members came to the club, they were basically promised their initiation fee back once they left. Well, the club clearly did not like that. They paid a pretty hefty penny for this place. So they basically gave the members an ultimatum that this is all alleged, but there's some articles about this, that they had to surrender their rights to their initiation fee or they could no longer be members at Valhalla. They also eliminated corporate memberships. They prevented guests from being unaccompanied by other members, which isn't all that bad. But, they ruffled a bunch of feathers once they bought this place. But for the most part, the members seem to be happy. They kept the club in Louisville hands, and they basically turned this place into an embodiment and celebration of Louisville. So much so that they had all these hole names that they completely rebranded and changed after the fact. Even though this club was built in 1986, they decided, hey, we have to change the original hole names and we need to make it as Kentucky as possible. So why don't we get right to the holes? Let's start with the first hole here. This was known as Cut the Corner because guys would conveniently, tongue in cheek, cut the corner on this hole where the tee box was a little bit up here. That's why you see a couple of bullet points with Ricky and Rory over here. But they moved the tee box back. This is about 24 or 27 yards longer in 2024 versus what it was in 2014. And now this is called the post, which is obviously a reference to horse racing, post time. You get it. Lots of horse racing themes in these holes. So this is a long par 4 now. It's about 300 yards in the middle of this dog leg. But back in 2014, guys, like the hole was called, we're cutting the corner, setting up really easy wedge shots. Now it's about a 330-yard carry over this dogleg here. I mean, if they have a helping wind, maybe they can cut the corner, but you're probably going to see guys play it pretty straight to the dogleg here. Set up a much longer approach shot into the green this year, probably about 175 and 200 yards. I'll summarize the proximity buckets at the end. I'm not going to talk about much of the greens just because not all that interesting, not for handicap purposes. Well, yeah, they're kind of boring, and honestly, they're bent grass. And I mean, when you're previously a golf course, there's not really a whole lot to say about green structure as far as how you want to bet. It's more about types of holes, what you're hitting, proximity, all that stuff. So,
so the greens are bent grass?
The greens are bent grass. It is Zoysia. There's Zoysia. That is actually a change for this year. They were bent grass greens. And if you remember back in 2014, it was really wet. It was really soft. And what they wanted to do was,
just like the NHL referees, wet and soft.
But very good. Get another shot in there as I'm trying.
I want to fly the Toronto.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons why they wanted to transition to Zoysia is because it can play a lot firmer because you don't have to water it as much. And with bent grass, you have to constantly water it to keep it alive, especially with really hot Kentucky weather. The problem, though, is when you move it to May, the weather can be kind of unpredictable. And, I think they're going to get a lot of rain. So if it rains on it, it's not going to play firm. But ideally, they want the Zoysia to play a little firmer. Ball run a little more. I don't know if we're going to get that weather this week. Stay tuned for that. But the first is now a very long par 4. It was only 446 back in 2014. It's now 484 in 2024. Can't cut the corner. It's going to be a longer approach shot. A tough opening hole. It's, you got thick ryegrass or bluegrass rough on either side. So about 35-yard landing zone. Not a fairway you can't hit, but it's a demanding driver hole. So, all right, second hole. This was called the Ridge, and now it's called Winning Colors. Boston Cappers, Winning Color. He left. So I will just explain to you what Winning Colors is. Winning Colors was the 1988 Kentucky Derby winner. She was a filly. This is another long par 4, 500 yards. This is a tough hole as well. They didn't change this at all from 2014, but they didn't really need to. It was already long. You have a large bunker over on the right over here that can be carried with a driver over 300 yards. There is a tributary to Floyd's Fork down the right here, and that's actually where Ricky Fowler found his his second tee shot here. Had to take a drop. Rory, though, drove it over the bunker because it was a lot longer. This hole also bottlenecks. Once you get about 340, 350 out, to about 20 yards wide with a fairway. But again, this is a long par 4 setting up a long approach shot into the green. Rory had 190 yards into the green in 2014. Ricky had about 215 after the penalty. So, again, you're looking at probably another 175, 200-yard shot into this green over here. You got some tight Zoysia fairway over on the right over here if you miss here. Again, though, just a lot of thick bluegrass rough if you miss long. Couple deep bunkers as well. Obviously, you got the water over here. Again, another tough hole, to open your round here. Third hole. This was called Floyd's Fork because Floyd's Fork, it's like a creek. It runs, bisects the hole here, but they renamed the hole to Honest Abe in honor of Abraham Lincoln, who spent 5 minutes in Kentucky, but they're trying to claim him as their native son. And
he pulled well there.
He what?
He pulled well there.
He did. He was born about 70 miles south of Valhalla, and at the age of 70, he moved. But hey, you know what? They want to celebrate Honest Abe here because you know why? You know why it's called Honest Abe? Because it takes, quote unquote, an honest attempt at this green. I shit you not. That is why it's called Honest Abe, this hole. But it is a par 3, 208 yards. This slopes pretty severely down to the little creek here. They try and bill it as if you come up short, the ball will run into the creek. The problem is, though, this is all thick rough. Ball's not going anywhere. You got some tight lies over here, but overall, though, this is a long par 3. Another long approach shot. Pretty typical for PGA setups. Not really a whole lot to talk about with this hole, other than just don't hit it fat into the water and make sure you pay respects to the 16th president as you go on.
This is exactly what we would do. Hit it fat into the water.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, we'll get to a couple of holes where it seems pretty unfair to a 20 handicap if you play it.
Can I just ask if anybody who's listening knows who any of these NHL refs were tonight? If they have like home addresses, anything like that, you can send them to me anonymously. You could. It'll be fine. I won't do anything illegal. I just want to know where they live. It's fine.
Okay. Hole number 4. This was called short and sweet because it is a short par 4, but they didn't like
Wasn't that your nickname in high school?
I'm tall, so that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. So.
Oh, you sure? It was about your love game.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Anyways, this is a short par 4. They didn't feel like it was Kentucky enough, so they changed it to Mind That Bird. Boston Capper, do you know what Mind That Bird is, what that actually refers to?
I'm going to assume it's a horse.
It is a horse. It is the winner of the 2009 Kentucky Derby. I believe this was the last. Calvin Burrell was on the horse. Do you know who Calvin Burrell is? He's a Creole guy. He talks.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was on this horse. He won the Oaks Derby double on Rachel Alexander, who then ended up winning the Preakness.
Oh, so he was the last one to win the double.
I believe he was the last one to win the double
until this year.
Until this year. So this hole was named after Mind That Bird because Mind That Bird was a 50-1 long shot, undersized horse for an undersized hole. You get it? So really fits for this.
I just can't wait to get the Muhammad Ali holes. That's what I want. I can't wait.
You can't wait for what?
That's going to be the Muhammad Ali holes.
Okay. Well, so they played around the tee box. Unfortunately, the only real footage I could find was round 4, where they played it all the way back. So why don't we do a quick measurement here? So from the back tee box, because the question is, all right, are guys actually going to go for this green? Well, it's 340 to the middle of the green.
Okay.
To clear all of this bluegrass rough over here, which, by the way, a lot of this terrain, it's a really good piece of land. A lot of the fairways are relatively flat, but off the fairway, there's a lot of pretty good land undulation, a lot of mounds and hills. So, I think about last year at Oak Hill, relatively, if you hit it in the rough, relatively flat, wing foot, relatively flat. Here, if you do spray it off line a little bit, you might have a little bit of an awkward lie. It is going to be trampled down a little bit by fans, but it's not quite as, okay, even if it's a trampled lie, I got a flat lie. It's not going to be quite like that. But it's 320 to carry all of this. So if you have a forward tee box, which they probably do, guys will probably go for it. They'll probably try and dump in one of the bunkers. But what they were doing in round 4 is this area right here. This is where Rory and Ricky were hitting it. They hit 3-wood on this hole because this is a giant flat plateau to set up like a flip wedge into the green. It is a very comfortable, easy layup. Like it is 40 yards wide, the layup zone. So, and if you miss it left here, you don't have a lot of real estate. You got the creek over here. You got woods. As far as the risk of actually going for it, if it's back, you probably are going to see a lot of guys, I feel like, take a similar strategy. Just hit it here and then hit a flip wedge, try and get your birdie and get out of there. Again, if the tee box is up, they'll probably see guys go for it. But this was a prevailing strategy, at least in round 4, of just guys hitting.
If the tee box is up, what do they have to carry?
If tee box is like, let's put it here.
Right.
It's only 293 in the middle. Yeah, you'll see guys go.
So these guys hit like fucking 3-wood or like driving iron.
Yeah. But from the back tee, though, 328 to this bunker.
Right.
Yeah, you're probably going to see guys hit 5-wood, 3-wood to this little plateau here and hit it's like an 80-yard shot in to a green that's not all that complicated. So,
all right. Okay.
That's something to keep in mind. I would probably classify this probably more of a less than driver hole, even though it's a shorter hole. I think the risk reward of going for it probably isn't that much. So this is our first one where you're not hitting driver a lot. All right, let's go to the 5th hole. So this was, here we go. Let me get rid of this. So this was called fadeaway, which apt to the name, you had to hit a giant power fade. Jack Nicklaus loved his power fades. It was called fadeaway. Well, again, they thought that wasn't Kentucky enough. Apparently, maybe they referenced Jack Nicklaus too much. This is now called the Sun Shines Bright. Do you know what the Sun Shines Bright is, Boston Capper?
No.
It is the first words of my old Kentucky home. Why they called it the sun shines bright, I don't know. Maybe just as part of the property receives a lot of sun, but that's what they decided to call this hole. I like the fade away name better because it's described exactly what I do. You got to hit a giant power fade. This is a tough driving hole. You got 3 bunkers all the way over here, 295 to carry his first bunker, 305 to carry the second one, 320 carry the third, 290 carry this
you say carry, but look how wide that fucking fairway is in the middle.
Well, so it's 35 yards, but
not hit it. They don't have to hit it into the bunker.
All right, well, it's 35 yards. Rory hit an absolute missile and carried everything.
How far? So that's what I'm saying. So how far is that? How wide is it?
It's about 35 yards right here. It's about 35 yards. So it's generous enough. But if you miss, then you're in a bunker, you're in the bluegrass rough. But you can see guys, take all that play. Now, again, kind of like the second hole there, it bottlenecks to 20 yards. This is a pretty big poke, though, unless they have a helping wind. But yeah, listen, tough driving hole at least. Guy hit a power fade. If you miss, you're in one of these bunkers. Only 460 yards. Rory had 142 yards, and again, he nuked the drive. Ricky, he hit a decent drive. He still had 173 in.
Ricky
so
stinks.
probably about back then he didn't. So this is about a mid iron per se. So that's the 5th hole. 6th hole. Okay. So,
this is what I like. I like this hole.
Don't we got to take another break, by the way, or can we just keep going?
You tell me. I'm just an angry hockey fan right now.
All right. Why don't we take another ad break? Let's take our last ad break, and then let's just roll through this.
All right. So listen, you're looking to prove ball? What better way to showcase your old school fandom than some old school gear from a classic team? Royal Retros has jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, sweatshirts, and more from the vintage sports leagues and teams you know and love. The Dirty Bird, the Orange Cross, the Sack Exchange, all made for sick jerseys and for real fans. Use promo code SGPN for 10% off your order today. That's SGPN RoyalRetros.com. Take 10% off today.
Okay.
It was funny that we went through the exercise that all the teams we love really don't have too many variations. It was kind of funny.
Okay. All right. Hole number 6. This was called the Bear, again, in reference to Jack Nicklaus. This is now called Long Shot. Obviously, a reference to long shots winning the Kentucky Derby. Also, a reference to the long approach shot that everybody has to hit. And this is what I'm going to call stupid fucking hole number 1. Let me explain. So you got Floyd's Fork basically bisecting the hole over here. The fairway runs out from the back tee 300 yards, and it's about 200 yards in the middle of the green. You have all of these tee boxes, though. So whatever skill level you are, let's say you're a absolute 90-year-old senior citizen or lady teeing off here. You're probably not clearing the creek over here. So you probably got to hit your feeble little drive to about here. Same thing from here. You're hitting your drive to about here. And then all of these tee boxes here. Probably you're not carrying all of this because you can't. These are large trees. Everybody, no matter what skill level, will be hitting your approach shot from this little zone right here. And this is a big poke. And it's not like they adjust the par for anybody. This is still a par 4 for everybody. So it's not like if you're teeing up here, it's a par 5. Like this is a 210, 220 yard approach shot for everybody. I just think it's poorly designed. That's just me. So for these guys, though, it runs out to 300 yards. You cannot carry any of this. This is a less than driver hole, and this is going to be a contest of who can get a long iron the best to an elevated green up here. So that's my little spiel on that. So, back in 2014, Rory and Ricky both hit 3-wood. They both had about 225 yards into the green. It's going to be the exact same this year. The strategy does not change. You'll probably maybe even see guys use pull iron because they hit it so long, and they're hitting a long iron to the green. So that's number 6. Number 7. This was called Player's Pick because this is probably one of the more infamous holes at Valhalla. This is the split fairway par 5. And this was called Player's Pick. This is now genuine risk because this is quote unquote risk reward, which I will also call stupid fucking hole number 2. So, this again has something to do with the.
I always giggle when you drop the F-bomb. When you drop the F-bomb, it always makes me laugh. It's usually yelling at me, which you never do. You never drop the F-bomb unless you're yelling at me, or you just are so disgusted about the architecture of a golf course.
Well, so it's all about, again, where they're putting their tee boxes and what they actually want you to do. So what they want you to do is they want you to actually make a decision. Okay, are you going to go left with the riskier fairway? You're going to go right towards the safe fairway. So what they want you to do here is if you go right, there's a lot of trouble over here, but it makes the hole longer. Plays about 600 yards if you go all the way around here. But if you cut the corner to this small little thumbnail or like thumbprint fairway here, it's about 30 yards wide, runs out at about 325. You can shorten the hole about 540. The problem, though, is depending on your skill level, you have, if you're a worse player, you're teeing off over on the right over here. Why would you ever crisscross the hole to go over here to this riskier fairway and then set up a shot over water if you're like a higher handicap? You're obviously, based on where the tee boxes are, it's right out in front of you. You're just going to hit a dead straight here. If you're a better player, this is a members tee over here. This is where the pros tee off. Again, why would you ever, when it's only about 180 yards to this fairway right here if you're a member, and it's about 234 if you're a pro, why would you ever make the hole longer and crisscross the hole? Just go over here. The worst case scenario, if you miss the fairway, you can just punch back out over to the other fairway.
You say worst case scenario. That's a big body of water in front. You duff that tee shot.
This is only about 110 yards back to this fairway. So is it really risky if wherever you're teeing from basically decides what fairway you're going to be hitting it from? And by the way, in 2014, no one went right. Everyone went to this fairway right here. Everyone did. Yeah. There's no reason if you're a really pro player, you would ever, because look, it's 295 carries bunker. There's still water over here. You can still miss it even if you make the hole longer. Just hit it. It's for them, it was a driver. For this year, though, because it runs out to 325 for a longer hit, it's probably going to be a 3-wood to this fairway here. And then it sets up like a 220-yard shot over water, which is a mid-iron and a long iron to some of these guys. So this is going to play very one-dimensional. It played one-dimensional in 2014. It's going to play one-dimensional in this hole. These guys ate this hole up too. A lot of birdies, a lot of eagles. It's not as well designed, I think, they want it to be. I mean, it looks good. You got the waterfalls going all the way here, big body of water, but everyone's going to go left. So, okay.
Everybody goes left. That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Hole number 8. So, mid-size par 3, 190 yards. It says 175 here. It's going to play 190.
Is this the easiest hole of the course?
No, 7's the easiest hole of the course.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. This is called Float Like a Butterfly in honor of obviously Muhammad Ali.
Cassius Clay, sir. Cassius Clay.
Cassius Clay. All right. So you're starting to get kind of annoyed and disgusted by all these references to Louis.
I don't even understand why are they claiming fucking Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali?
Well, he's from Louisville.
I get he's from there, but
well, they're just trying to jam in every single reference to Louisville here. Horse racing, bourbon, Cassius Clay.
Is number 16 named I Fucked My Sister? Because that is Kentucky.
You're just going to have to see. We got about 8 more holes left here. But again,
8 more holes left. That's what his sister said.
So check this out. Kind of like when I said earlier with Honest Abe, they said it takes an honest shot into the par 3. What they say about this hole, it's called Float Like a Butterfly because it's only a short to middle iron in, but the green complex is as dangerous as the Muhammad Ali combination.
My Lord.
Yeah.
My Lord.
Yep. That's what you're getting this week, everybody. This is a par 3, 190 yards. Balls that come up a little short. There's a false front over here to, some tight lies. Tight lies mostly around the green. That's just a little different than most greens at Valhalla. Most of them just have a lot of bluegrass rough around it. This has some tight lies. 190-yard shot. Honors Muhammad Ali. Float Like a Butterfly. Now, that hole is called Float Like a Butterfly. What would you think the next hole is called?
Sing like a bee because I want to kill myself.
Okay, it's not.
No,
you would think that you would think that would make sense. This is called Twin Spires. We're going back to horse racing.
No way, Kentucky's weird and backwards. So strange.
So it was called the Rise because this plays uphill, which actually makes a lot of sense. Why they're calling it Twin Spires, besides horse racing, I don't know. I guess you can see the spires of the clubhouse in the background.
Sure.
I don't know.
Or maybe there was some twins that,
All right, easy. Well, anyways, so this is an interesting hole because it's a short par 4, and back in 2014 they weren't hitting quite as far. Rory and Ricky both laid up off the tee. They both hit 3-wood. And you can kind of see why. There's bunkers on both sides. It takes 296 to carry this bunker over here, 317 carry. It ball next to 20 yards way up the fairway. And it's a 40-yard landing zone, though. So hitting a 3-wood makes it pretty easy to set up just a shorter approach shot in. Rory had 152 in. Ricky had 165 in. Now, it's 2024, though. Are guys maybe going to take it on a little more? Maybe shorten up a little bit? I don't know. Maybe. But I think just hitting a 3-wood probably still is a viable strategy for this hole. I don't think anybody can actually cut all of this off when they're hitting driver to set up like a really short approach shot where it widens here. I would probably guess similar strategies as back in 2014. So, all right.
Okay.
That's front 9. Back 9. We're going to par 5 called Big Red. Do you know what Big Red is, Boston Capper?
The cinnamon gum as a child.
No. It was the nickname.
It absolutely is. I don't care what.
Okay.
That's exactly what.
It was the nickname to Secretariat. And that is what this name is. This hole is named for because
what's nickname Big Red?
Because it was a big hole. Secretary was long. It was big. This is a big hole. It's also has the double dog leg, which is very patented of Jack Nicklaus with his par 5. It's also a shot of Larry Packard. The guy at the Valspar created the double dog leg. There you go. Yeah. They say that this hole has a similar physique as Secretariat. I guess. Anyways, this is where
Kentucky people are fucking weird.
This is why I'm actually talking about this. Is they have seemed to think that this club that has been around only since the 80s is the embodiment of Kentucky and the shining light of Louisville. I mean, and listen,
about bluegrass music. You're thinking about like running bootlegs, like all types of shit in their history. It's awesome.
Yeah, we haven't even had a bourbon reference yet. That's coming.
I know, it's
that's
insane.
Coming, by the way. That's coming, but we haven't had a bourbon reference. It reminds me of like the PGA Tour where they tried to make them own any seem as important as the majors. It's kind of similar. At the end of the day, this is just a golf club. It's a very nice golf club. It's very well maintained. The membership is really good. The land is good, but this is kind of a parody of itself. And unfortunately, because Elijah Craig is a major sponsor of the PGA of America.
Oh, Elijah Craig, that's pretty good.
Yes.
That's pretty good revenue.
And because all these whole names are just jammed down your throat about culture.
Elijah Craig is the main sponsor of this?
Yeah, they're a big sponsor. Well, remember last year at Oak Hill, they had the tent. The Elijah Craig tent.
Oh.
They did. So Kentucky culture is going to be jammed down your throat. And this is a nice embodiment. But anyways.
So is there a hole named after all the horses that get shot in the head when they break their leg?
No, I don't think there is.
There's not like heap of horses who did not run correctly.
No, but we'll see. 17? We have 7 more holes to cover. Anyways,
let's do 17. Heap of corpses of dead horses.
Okay, so it's a par 5, 590 yards.
I love how you know that is funny because you giggle, but you keep going.
So this is where Rory got things rolling in 2014. So he hit a pretty good drive, but he had about like 290 in. Remember that necky 3-wood he hit?
290 in. Driver again for me.
Well, remember that necky 3-wood he had, and he hated it, but it ended up just hitting the right slope over here and rolling up to like 10 feet for eagle.
Yes, I do actually.
That's on this hole. That's on this hole. And Ricky ended up laying up from he hit a great drive. He ended up laying up. I think he ended up par in this.
Because Ricky sucks.
But yeah, you got to hit a good drive on this hole if you want to get there in 2. Like Ricky did, he only hit it probably like 290. Had the layup, had a wedge, didn't birdie it. But this is where Rory got things rolling again for his 2014. Okay. All right, 11th hole. This was called On the Edge because there's a giant cliff over here.
That's where I am, Steve. Steve, I am on the edge.
You're on the edge. Okay. Again, they didn't think this was Kentucky enough, so this is called Holler. Or I think it's you and I are probably going to call it Holla, Holla. We're going to be calling it that.
No, not Ja Rule. Like, go down to the holler.
Okay. Do you know what a holler is?
Yeah, it's like where they go to get like water or something.
Okay, it's a valley in Kentucky. Yeah. So I guess it's a valley. There's a little bit of a high rise here. There's a low. I guess it's a valley. Anyways,
redneck. Listen, I'm speaking as myself, not for the Sports Gambling podcast, but rednecks are the worst.
Okay, all right. Cam cut that out too. Anyways, long par 3, 210 yards. It's a shallow green with a false front over here. If you hit it long, it's going to run off a little bit down the hill here. But again, there's rough. It's not going to go all that far. Long par 3. These par 3s, for the most part, pretty long. At Valhalla, we're going to get to another really long one in a little bit. All right, number 12. This has been lengthened.
I feel like Keegan. Everything you're saying so far, I feel like Keegan.
We're not going to play this. We're not playing this again. You did this back in the Phoenix Open a couple years ago where I was going through my spiel and kept trying to shoehorn fucking Keegan to the show.
No,
you are not doing that.
No. That's not what I meant, though. I didn't mean to.
You're not doing that. We're not doing that.
No. I didn't mean that. No.
Okay. We have 6 holes to go. We have 6 holes to go, and then we're going to play the game, okay?
All right. Ooh,
number 12. This has been lengthened since 2014. This is now 27 yards longer. This is 494 yards. And again, kind of like with hole number 6, this is stupid fucking hole number 3. Again, with where the tee boxes are, everybody is going to have their tee shot end up about right over here. The fairway runs out about 321. Can't drive over it. And again, it just sets up about a 180-yard shot into the green. Now, back in 2014, Ricky and Rory both used 3-wood. This is probably a driver hole. You know, it runs out about 321 now. You can probably hit driver and not worry about it. Be a driver hole? Well, because when the tee box was up here, it was only about 300. It was about 280 here, so they couldn't hit driver. Now that it's back to about 320 to here. If you're really long hair, if it's running firm, it could run through the fairway, and that's another problem too. It's like if you're in it's 4-inch bluegrass rough, so if you're in the rough, can't really advance the ball. Now there is this little sliver of fairway here for
reasons. What about the weather though? I mean, it's going to be super wet.
Well, yeah, then it'll play a lot longer, so the ball won't run out. That's right. Why I mentioned earlier with the Zoysia is that they wanted to play firmer with the Zoysia, but if it rains a lot, then it's going to play soft. It's not going to run out as much. It's going to be long. So, but anyways, though. Just like in 2014, you're going to see guys just hitting their approach shot from this little zone right here because there's no other way to play the hole. It's going to have about 160 to 175 yard hole into the green.
Matt loved Keegan. Cameron should have been able to get Keegan on the show, but Cam did not do his job as a producer.
By the way, number 12, the name of this hole now, this is Sting Like a Bee.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't name it number 9. That would have made sense. And, you probably could have had a chuckle with your buddies in the bar afterwards, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. They waited. I don't know if there's a bunch of honeybee nests, somewhere over here that they,
Steve, you're overthinking this. This is morons in Kentucky.
I hope you can understand.
All due respect to Matthew Wiley, the only Kentucky person that I think has a brain. So,
okay. Anyways, kind of like this hole reminds me a lot of like before they renovated Murphy Village. I forget which hole it was, but they had this little strip of fairway just floating out just randomly, right in the middle here. But it's all carry, all bluegrass rough over here. Nowhere really to miss it. So, all right, 13. They're doing some construction over here. I think they're putting in a tee box here, but this is what they consider the signature hole at Valhalla. This was called the Island because it is an island green all the way over here. They didn't want to call it the Island green. They thought that was too obvious. It's now called the Limestone hole. I made reference earlier that they Love their limestone because of how important it is to distilling whiskey in, the brewing process there. It's called limestone hole. Obviously, you have the limestone waterfalls back here. That is why it is called the limestone hole. On its face, though, this is kind of a nothing hole. The tee box is about 50 feet above a very generous fairway here. That's about 270 to the middle. Guys are hitting
3-wood, right?
Wedge. They're hitting 5-iron into this range here because it's a big drop. It's a big drop down. So your signature hole with a bunch of pot bunkers over here, which no one is hitting into because you're hitting an iron. If you're hitting an iron into these, like, you probably should withdraw at that point. It is a 5-iron wedge into the green. And you can say, okay, maybe they'll spin their wedge off the green here. Well, unfortunately, like the island green at Sawgrass, all of this is flanked by bowling bumper rough
garbage
over here. So yeah, some really good signature hole you got here. But hey, it's good visual. You got the waterfall here. Good hole.
Steve, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate this hole?
It's manufactured.
15?
It's manufactured.
Yeah.
It's fine. It just, I have a problem with the name. I have a problem with them calling this their signature hole when it's an iron wedge.
So you hate the hole.
It's not great. All right. 14. This was lengthened as well. This was only 214 yards back in 2014. They have lengthened it 37 yards. This is going to play 250 this year. This is called On the Rocks. So this was called 2 tiers because it's a 2-tier green, but the tiers are called TEARS. Basically, I think it means, if you're a grown man, you cry, you get tears in your eyes when you play this hole. Listen, the old names were bad too. Okay. But now this is called.
Is that really what it means?
Well, that was the old name. It was 2 tiers. And I think that's what it meant. It's a 2-tier green, but it's TEARS. I think it meant like if you play it, you're going to inflict pain on yourself and you're going to cry, basically. I'm pretty sure that was why they called it. Now it's called.
All these scumbags who name shit like this and always want to rail with this shit is somebody who's never fucking dodged a bullet in their entire life, never put on the fucking service. They're all like warmongering cocksuckers who think they're fucking like good at like whatever. Like these people who are like, I'm sorry.
How about this? Can we make a rule that if your golf course wasn't built before 1950, don't name your holes?
There you go. That's a good one.
Can we make that rule?
Can I also make a rule? If you personally didn't serve or put your life on the line, you don't get to say what anybody else does. Period. End of story. As far as like defending the country, and you certainly don't get to say anything. No flags on the back of your bumper sticker. Nothing. Freedom isn't free. None of that unless you put your fucking fat.
Okay. All right.
Cunt ass on the line. Period. End of story.
All right. Thank you for that.
Love you,
Anyways, this is called On the Rocks. I don't see any rocks on this hole. I guess you're technically on these rocks here.
Oh.
Maybe that's why it's called On the Rocks. Obviously is a reference to,
go way left.
On the rocks.
Right? Way left.
But yeah, this is called On the Rocks. No rocks around the green. I guess you're technically on the rocks, so I guess it's very literal.
What was that thing that confuses me? The bumps. What are the bumps? The mounds. The mounds. What are the mounds?
The Choco Drop mounds?
Yes, thank you.
There you go. All right. This is a very long par 3, 250 yards. It's going to be I think probably the hardest par 3 on the golf course. It's tough hole. Obviously, that's why they call it 2 tiers. It brings tears to grown men's eyes. Okay. 15th hole. We're almost done. We're going to start getting into a stretch of holes that's very driver heavy. The last 4 holes, you got to put up or shut up with the driver. Tough driving holes. Hole number 15. This is called Julep.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
I'm trying to be. So, how bad is this last stretch of holes?
I mean, I wouldn't call it that bad.
Right.
Listen, I would say these are typical PGA Championship type holes. Narrow, demanding
I
driver
hit the
holes.
fairway.
Got it the fairway. Driver, got to hit it long and straight. There's some water on a couple. Yeah, this is your typical probably PGA Championship setup.
Okay.
So, all right. So this is number 15. This is a par 4. Only 435 it was 435 yards here. But the bunker, it takes 310 to carry it. Again, Rory carried the bunker back in 2014, took it all out of play. Ricky hit a good drive over here. This point over here, let's say that for next hole. However, so this is called julep, obviously called mint julep. Crap, you're gone. You're gone. You're back for this. All right. Maybe I'll save this anecdote for later. But all right, so Ricky had about 135 yards. It's the wedge in, but you got to hit a good drive. Obviously, you got to miss this bunker over here. There's a creek running down the right over here. And then you have a creek running next to the green over here in case you miss right. But it's a wedge in, but you got to hit a really good drive here. Rory took all the trouble out of play off the tee here. It's about 30 yards wide here. Bottleneck's about 22. You got to hit driver on this hole. All right, number 16 here. This is called home stretch. Obviously, reference to coming down the stretch in Derby or horse racing. This is actually called down the stretch. I don't know why they decided to change the name from down the stretch to something similar to home stretch, but hey, that's what they did here. Again, though, got to hit a power fade here on this hole. Very typical for Jack Nicklaus Designs. Hey, you're back. So this is important.
Night terror. Okay. Night terror with the kid. Solo daddy.
Okay. All right. So hole number 15. That's called julep. Its old hole, though, was on the rocks. It was on the rocks. So they took the name of the 15th and put it on the 14th because there actually are rocks over here. Yeah. That's what they actually did.
Why?
They just wanted, I guess they just felt it was more appropriate if you're on the rocks on 14 versus hitting into the rocks on 15. They're clearly visible. Okay. So stupid. All right. Well, you missed this though. So number 16 it was called down the stretch and now it's called home stretch. I guess they wanted to condense the meaning there. You're disgusted.
Gotta get down the syllables.
So Rory nuked a drive. You got to hit a power fade on this hole. This is a par for 508 yards. Big boy hole. Ricky though hit a horrible drive. This point right here, this is where Ricky's tee shot was. He hit it all the way across the creek over here into the other fairway. But he had hitting.
Shot except 100 yards short.
But he had hitting a really good shot around the trees. He ended up saving par on this hole. But long par 4, narrow landing zone, nowhere really to miss it. Obviously, got water over on the right here. You got bluegrass rough and trees over on the left here. Just got to nut up and hit a good drive. Same thing on hole number 17 here. That was called No Mercy. Now this is called Straight Up because it goes uphill. Hey, at least it kind of makes sense for the hole. Here's one though I want to point out. This is a hole because for the most part, I've showed you guys, most fairways between 35 yards wide, all out in front of you. I wouldn't call it, I was having a conversation with Andy Lack about this. I wouldn't call it difficult to hit fairway, especially when it's soft. And that kind of takes some advantage of distance out of it. Here, though, so it gets much wider once you carry the ball about 300 in the air. It's only about 20 yards wide. So there's a little tongue of fairway here. Once you carry all of that, though, it gets way wider. So this is actually a hole where distance off the tee is a big advantage. Because if you can get it past this little elbow right here, hole opens up a lot. Now, there's a couple of bunkers you got to avoid on the left and the right, but it gets much wider the farther you hit it. So this is a par 4, 472 yards. Plays uphill about 20 feet, so plays closer to 490. Rory hit in the bunker over on the right here. Still, and it was very, it's still ended up getting out of the bunker onto the green. 2-putted for par, got out of there. And then number 18, par 5. This is probably the most picturesque hole on Valhalla, just because you have the horseshoe green here. You got the waterfalls. They're doing a lot of construction, but they got the waterfalls over here. Now they lengthen the hole too. So this is called photo finish. Obviously, coming down the stretch, last hole, want to call photo finish. Par 5, 570 yards. So they lengthened it 28 yards. It was only 542 in 2014. Now, if you remember this hole back in 2014, this is when they were racing in the dark to try to get it in.
Yeah. Wait, who hit into who? I can't remember who hit into who.
So Rory hit into Ricky and Phil. Rory almost hit into the water.
That's right.
Yeah. So Rory got caught up on the bank over here. Ricky hit a pretty good drive. But they lengthened the hole. So it's the tee box is all the way back here. Now it's 330 to this corner bunker over here. And honestly, most of the water is kind of taken out of play on this hole now. Like you had this creek running over here for a really huge miss. Like basically a Wyndham Clark slice of the U.S. Open can only get to here. You have this little sliver. I think they expanded the water a little farther past, but like for the most part, though, water's not really in play on this tee shot anymore. I kind of wish they didn't lengthen it because all of this was in play. I mean, Rory almost hit it into it. Now it's farther back, unless you're hitting it into here, and everybody's aiming probably towards this bunker and peeling it back. I don't like how they lengthened it. So, and honestly, I mean, there's no water around the green either. This is all kind of just this water hazard with the waterfalls, kind of just eye candy now.
They just want to have gators. That's all.
Gators? There's no gators here.
Yeah, they want to have gators.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the finishing hole, par 5. So let's sum it up, though. Let's go to the proximity buckets. So you only got about 4 shots under 150 yards. So that was number 4. Unless the tee box is up, then they're probably going to drive the green. You got number 9. If you're laying up, I think they're probably going to do a similar strategy for that this year. Obviously, you have number 13, which is a 5-iron to the middle of the fairway and then a wedge in. And then number 15, which is a relatively short par 4 there. Otherwise, though, 14 shots over 150 yards, 5 shots between 200 and 225 yards. A couple of those are the par 3s. You got number 2, which is a really long par 4. You got number 6, one of the dumb holes that I pointed out earlier. You got
one of the dumb holes, yes.
One of the dumb holes. You got number 11, Holler. That's between 200 and 225. You got 16, that really long par 4. So a lot of shots between 200 and 224, which is not really all that unexpected for PGA Championship setups. Most of them feature very long approach shots. But this is the split here. So if you're just listening to the podcast, 4 shots under 150 yards. I would say 5 shots between 150 and 200, and then 9 shots over 200 yards. So half your shots are going to come over 200 yards. So a lot of that's because they've done the lengthening to this course. A lot of longer par 3s. You got the 3 par 5s. A lot of long approach shots, which is not atypical of PGA Championship setups. Probably Valhalla is pretty much the most vanilla PGA Championship setup you can probably get, in my opinion, based on, I mean, you saw the holes. Yeah. It looks like a lot of different courses we probably have already seen.
That's fair.
Yeah. Thick, rough, 30, 35 yard wide fairways. Now, as far as the driver.
What do you think as far as like winning score, right? So as much as they can do with this course, they can like single digit, you thinking 12, 14?
Wow. So these guys lit this course up back in 2014. Now it was soft.
They did change it. Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. Like, they didn't really change it all that much. Like, they lengthened a couple holes, but the calculus doesn't change. Like, they lengthened the par 5 18th. Everybody's long. They're going to get there in 2. They lengthened that number 12, Sting Like a Bee, but the fairway, all that. So you got to use a driver there, but the fairway still runs out to the same distance and the same approach shot in. The only hole they actually changed was number 14, which is now 250 yards, and number 1. Number 1 is probably the only hole that's materially different because before you could cut the corner, set up a wedge. Now it's going to be a longer approach shot in. It's not like Oak Hill last year where they just fundamentally changed the golf course.
Okay.
Like, this is basically the same golf course now. They're hitting me probably most of the same shots. They're probably in the same clubs. They're just longer now. They hit it straighter. And unless it's firm, which it doesn't look like it's going to be, the PGA of America has tried to set a target score of like 10 under. I don't really know how they're going to get there with this. And honestly, I think the only reason why this was here is because they made the decision before they went that policy of trying to get the 10 under. They already had made the decision to come here. So I think probably 15 under, 14 under. I think probably right around where we saw Rory last time. I don't think it's going to be that.
So Brooks wins, right? Brooks.
Well, you want to just get to the game? I had a couple other things, but I can save it for my preview column. So
no.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we just get to the game? We're running along.
Brooks wins.
Okay. Let me get my little copy up here.
Why don't we have a we want to play a game GIF yet?
What do you mean? From Saw?
Yeah, from Saw. We need one of those.
We probably do.
No, we absolutely do.
Okay.
You want to play a game? That's literally what we play. We text each other. So.
All right. Well, I want to talk about one thing because I think just driving in general probably I think is the most important skill this week, and it's not necessarily distance because I don't think hitting fairways is all that difficult. But I think this kind of like with Murfield Village, where the fairways are generous enough where you have to hit the fairway. I don't know necessarily about the penalty for missing a fairway here, but I think enough guys have enough opportunity to at least hit fairways here. And it kind of saw that in 2014. So I want to actually pull up the rest of the leaderboard here before we get to the game. So obviously Rory wins. Phil comes in second. Henrik Stenson, Ricky Fowler, T3. Jim Furyk, shorting Jim Furyk, T5. Ryan Palmer, T5. L. Stricker, Mahan, Mikko Ilonen from Finland.
Mahan. Well, Mahan with the stupid sunglasses.
Jimmy Walker, Victor Dubuisson, and then T13, Snedeker, Chappell, Westwood, Adam Scott. You got Louis and Schwartzel, Graham Dillard, Jason Day. Brooks Koepka, by the way, T15. So you look back at how they're driving. You got a mix here of short players, you got a mix of long players. But for the most part, heading into this PGA, all of them were ranked pretty high in strokes gained off the tee. Either they hit it far or they hit a lot of fairways. And if you look at just like total driving, most of these guys rank pretty solid in it. So it's probably a good combination of length and accuracy for the most part. That's where I'm kind of coming up with a theory of I don't think distance is necessarily a prerequisite like Oak Hill was or Winged Foot was. I just think you got to drive it pretty good. So I think strokes gained off the tee as far as a predictive measurement, probably pretty predictive this week. And obviously long iron play, putting on bent grass. If you hit good approach shots on Zoysia, that probably helps. I mentioned that they changed the agronomy to that earlier. So some golf courses that have Zoysia fairways, typically Southwind, East Lake, Kasumi Gaseki in Japan, Trinity Forest, TBC Craig Ranch. So if you notice some guys maybe good results of those places and have really good iron results from those places, maybe good thing to, good golf courses to look at. That's it. So we'll talk about a little more about driving when we get to the elimination. Well, we'll get to that right now. So some general trends about guys who win the PGA. Let's start eliminating guys. I went back all the way to 2010. There's 14 PGA winners, including Keegan, by the way. So, and in general, by the way, PGA winners generally are pretty good off the tee. Drive it pretty good. Keegan was driving it pretty good the year he won too. So, all right, you're getting tired. Let's do the game.
I'm getting tired.
You're just bummed. Okay.
Still angry. I'm just getting more upset.
Okay. All right.
I was able to quell myself for a while. Now I'm just getting depressed and angry.
Okay. All right. Everybody who has won the PGA since 2010 has played within 2 weeks of the events.
Well, okay.
Okay. Well, there's 3 guys in particular who haven't played in a month. You got Hideki, who hasn't played in a month. He just withdrew. You got Ludwig, who withdrew.
Wait.
And you got...
That was Ludwig was a month?
He hasn't played since the Heritage. And you got Scotty, who's not played in a month.
Right.
So right off the bat, based on the last 14 years, we're going to eliminate probably the 2 biggest favorites, I would say, coming into this week, other than Rory. Okay. 13 of the last 14 have at least one win in their last 2 years before winning. Basically, you've won. So we're going to get rid of Terrell Hatton. We're going to get rid of Cam Young.
Are we counting live wins?
We are counting live wins. We're counting live wins and DP World Tour wins.
What's Burmester's fucking odds?
Just let's get it. JT, we're going to get rid of. I know that makes you happy. Louisville's own.
Scumbag.
Okay. We are going to get rid of
Fleetwood.
Jordan Spieth.
Fleetwood.
No, Fleetwood has won. He won earlier this year.
When?
He beat Rory.
Oh,
we're going to rid of Adam. Okay. We're going to get rid of Adam Scott. We're going to get rid of Ben On. And we get rid of Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed's been pretty bad. Yeah, he might not be very good at golf anymore. Unless it's Augusta. Then apparently he could be good. Okay. And all those guys, 12 of the last 14 have had multiple wins in the last 2 years.
All right.
So we are going to get rid of Colin Morikawa, who you call a fake golfer, who I actually think, based on how
COVID fake.
Based on how well he drives it, this is a Jack Nicklaus course, played pretty well this week at Valhalla. I think he's going to be pretty good this week. I don't know about the win, but I think he'd be pretty good this week. I think there's a lot of things set up for Colin.
He'll be one of those sorry fuckers who misses the cut.
Okay. All right. Patrick Cantlay is playing terrible.
Stinks.
He wants to play Succession. Now, technically, he has won twice, but one of them is the Zurich. I'm not counting Zurich.
Yeah, and the other win is what? Fucking when Ron fucking tapped out because he had COVID.
No, that was more than 2 years ago.
Patrick Cantlay is worse than I ever thought he was. I thought he was a serial killer, and he is literally stopping the progress of the goddamn sport we love because he wore a Goldman Sachs hat once, and he thought osmosis he was happy, and he could negotiate business deals. Meanwhile, he's a fucking meathead piece of shit. Ugh. What a fucking asshole! All
right, let's get through this. He's gone. Okay, he's gone. So it's a Gala. He's only won once. Will Zalatoris also gone. He has not won multiple times in the last 2 years. Jason Day is also gone, and Shane Lowry, similar to Cantlay, even though he technically has 2 wins. One of them's a Zurich. I'm not counting that. Okay. So we're going to get rid of that. Okay. So we have left. We have Rory, Rahm, Xander, Brooks, Bryson, Neiman, Cam Smith, Wyndham Clark, Hovland still is kicking, even though he's been terrible. Max Homa, Fleetwood, Fitzpatrick, DJ, Taylor Gooch, which this isn't a major without him. Glad he's still around in this elimination game. Finau, Dean Burmester, still around. Sam Burns, Tom Kim, Sung Jae, still around. Okay. 12 of the last 14 have a top 10 in a major in their career before winning PGA. Sorry, Joaquin Neiman should have picked that up at the Masters. You're out. Taylor Gooch also is out as well. Dean Burmester is also out. And Sam Burns, who actually played pretty well this week, he's also out. Okay. Let's get rid of those guys. Let's get rid of Sam Burns. Nope. Delete. Let's get rid of Sam Burns. Okay. 12 of the last 14 have a previous top 10 in the PGA for winning. Wyndham Clark is out, who I like for next week. Didn't show very well at Valhalla, but I like him for this week. Max Homa doesn't have a top 10 in the PGA, so he's out. And Tom Kim is also out. Okay. 12 of the last 14 made the cut in the previous major they played. Hovland and DJ are out. Okay. So we're really whittling it down now. Still with me? You are not here. Great. Great podcasting. Okay. Let's see. And then 12 of the last 14 have a top 10 in the last 5 starts heading in. Everybody remaining still here. Now we're going to go some attributes. So of the last 14 winners of the PGA Championship, 12 of the last 14 were in the top 40 in strokes gained tee to green heading into the tournament. All of these guys, actually, no, that's not true. Cam Smith, you were out based on what you've been doing on Live. You wouldn't cut in tee to green. Tommy Fleetwood is also currently not in the top 40 in strokes gained tee to green heading in. And Matt Fitzpatrick not having a great season. You're out. So,
how many you got left?
Oh, and then Sung Jae, somewhere along the way, Sung Jae also got eliminated. So, yeah,
we'll just
I'm like that. I'm like that. That's an error.
Yeah, we'll just eliminate him. That's fine.
Yeah, it's an error. Okay. All right. So, I mean, obviously, these are not surprising names that are left. The PGA has tended to kind of promote a typical type of player that's winning, mostly a really long player who's a really good driver. You have Rory left, Rahm, Xander, Brooks, Bryson. Finau is still kicking around, but we're about to eliminate him. Of the 12 of the last 14 winners of the PGA, they were within the top 40 and starting off the tee heading in. So for Liv, let's do top 15. Finau, you are out. He's actually not driving all that great this year.
He stinks.
And he kind of stinks. And then lastly, 12 of the last 14 finished within the top 25 in their last start before the PGA. So let's go top 15 for Liv. Bryson didn't show very well in Singapore. They're out. And honestly, I can't really eliminate the rest of the guys. No surprise, the remaining names. Rory, Rahm, Xander, Brooks.
It's Rory Brooks.
It's Rory Brooks for you.
Get your popcorn ready.
Get your popcorn ready.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, this is similar how last year this played out when we did this elimination game. I think like Brooks is left over, Bryson was left over, Scotty was left over. Like these PGAs, they tend to be set up pretty similarly. And for the most part, it's been usually the biggest, baddest driver has been able to kind of prevail at these things because they kind of want to set a target winning score. I don't know how well they're going to do that this year, but these guys being the last ones remaining, I know it's dangerous to say this because, we've seen a lot unpredictable with the PGA Tour. I don't think we're getting a very surprised winner this week, the PGA. I think it's going to be one of these big baddies. And that's what's going to happen. So, all right, that's it. I got nothing else. The rest of all this is going to be my preview column. It'll come out tomorrow. Thanks for everybody's patience. Appreciate it.
All right, so who we got on for the betting show?
So we got Byron, Linda Q coming on, Model Maniac. So he will be on Tuesday.
I won't be here.
He will be on Tuesday. Yep, you will not be here.
I will not be here. I'm going down to the Panthers game to probably get arrested because the NHL refs are so terrible. Byron, very smart guy, not getting arrested, going to a game. Talking with Steve.
All right. Well, have fun on Tuesday, and I will chat with you during the week.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Well, listen, everybody tune in. It'll be super fun, and then other than that, I'll just give my picks, I guess, on Twitter. But I think it's just going to be Brooks single bullet. I really think it's going to be Brooks single bullet.
Okay.
That's what I think. Unless you can convince me otherwise.
I mean,
Rory's not winning 3 in a row. Xander can't win. So, yeah. And Bryson knows how. Oh, not Bryson. Jesus. Oh. Maybe there was a little slip.
All right. Why don't we end the show?
All right.
All right.
All right. So I guess on Tuesday. Bye.